We're taking this, 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 we're taking with a pinch of salt.
Dear ladies, dear gentlemen, welcome to another episode of A Pinch of Salt, your triple monthly nephrology podcast, where you can get your daily dose of common sense and hopefully get some much needed answers to common or difficult clinical problems. Today's episode is special in two ways. Firstly, for its subject, because we'll be talking about green nephrology. And secondly, because we're really lucky to have two guests to talk about this. Dr. Ivo Laranjinha is our colleague from Portugal. Ivo is the chair of the ERA Sustainable Nephrology Task Force. And with us as well is Dr. Susi Knöller, our colleague from Germany, and Susi is also a member of this task force. Ivo and Susi, welcome to A Pinch of Salt.
Hi, Andre.
Hello, Andre. Thank you very much for your kind invitation.
It's a pleasure. So before we go into the questions, I just wanted to ask you, can we make a promise to our audience that we will not depress them with this episode? Because, once you hear climate change and sustainable, that could be a pretty depressive topic. But we'll be trying to talk about what can be done and hopefully to make our lives easier, not more difficult, right?
It will be our goal today. We will try.
We will try,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off just with a basic question, which is, why do you think that ERA needs a sustainable nephrology task force? Why do we need this? Why do we need to talk about this and work on this?
Okay, thank you, Andre. I can start with this question. So, although the decision came from the ERA board, of course, I believe they did it because they saw the environmental issues weren't really on the radar of most of the nephrologists. So, I think I can answer the question why ERA needs a sustainable task force by telling you a little about what are our goals and what we are doing during the last year within this task force. And first, we want to raise awareness of the current and the future environmental impact of kidney care. But we also want to talk about how climate change is already impacting kidney health. And it goes both ways. So our treatments affect the planet and the climate change affect our patients. So it works like a snowball effect if you don't stop it. And for example, hotter temperatures or extreme weather conditions can increase risk of things like kidney stones, for instance, acute kidney injury, or the progression of chronic kidney diseases. So people with kidney diseases are especially vulnerable to climate change, and we need to be aware of these. And another reason, and I think it's a very interesting point, another reason why ERA created this task force is because they realized their own activities, like organizing one of the biggest scientific congresses in the world, also have an environmental impact. So we have been working closely with the ERA board and with the Congress organizers too, of course, to raise awareness among everyone involved in the Congress, from sponsors to speakers, the catering team, exhibitors, attendees, etc. And I can give you some examples. For instance, at the upcoming Congress in Vienna, we have been involved in several initiatives. For instance, we proposed a symposium during the Congress. We are also helping the board with a challenge that is a sustainable challenge, where we will judge which exhibitors during the Congress are doing most to be eco-friendly. We also was part of the selection process of the award of excellence in sustainable nephrology, and the winner will be announced during the upcoming Congress too. And we have been working with a German startup called Accent to calculate the Congress carbon footprint of the Congress carbon footprint, and we plan to share the most interesting findings of this study in an article later this year. So I think the the ERA Congress also will summarize some in a section some points and some suggestions, some tips how to be sustainable during the Congress itself. So I think the board saw these sustainable thing or this green thing as a challenge or a priority for the future of nephrology. And if you look at other task force, they are all about building a better and a fair future. If you think about the strong kidneys or the kidney relief disasters task force. And sustainability is always about the future, is always about thinking about the future and the future generation. So our goal is to integrate environmental sustainability into all nephrology activities. And we want to bring environmental thinking into everything we do in nephrology, including the Congress itself. So we can't keep acting like our work does. We can't keep acting like if our work doesn't affect the environment. So
Yeah.
just because we think, just because it is healthcare, it's not automatically okay.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
is my ideas about why we need a task force in the ERA.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And why shouldn't we do something that can be done easily, even sometimes, and it might be even more pleasurable, like a train ride versus an airplane ride? So, when we think about carbon footprint, we generally think about airplanes and cars and trucks and thermoelectric plants and so on. But you've already mentioned that nephrology has a carbon footprint, if nothing else, from people going to congresses. But what is the contribution actually of healthcare to the carbon footprint, or nephrology more specific? And what is the biggest contributor to the carbon footprint of nephrology? What is the most wasteful resource eating part of nephrology?
Yeah, it's a very important question. The healthcare sector is a very significant emitter. So 4.4% of global greenhouse gas emissions originate from the healthcare sector. This is a result of a study by the Healthcare Without Harm network. For example, it is assumed that emissions in the high-income countries like Germany and other European countries, that 1 ton of carbon dioxide per capita arises from an inhabitant of those countries only for the healthcare sector. And so in Australia, Canada, the United States, it is even more than 1 ton per capita. And if the healthcare system would be a country, then it would be the 5th largest emitter in the world.
Wow.
So, and you ask, so what can we do? First, we have to recognize where are the sources of emissions. And so they divided the carbon dioxide emissions into 3 scopes. So just to distinguish the source of emissions. So, and around 70% of emissions, they are generated indirectly in the supply chain, like production of medicines or other devices, transport. And around 17% come directly from the energy supply, like heating or electricity in the hospitals of the buildings. And further 12% result from the processes in healthcare system itself, like the anesthetic gases, like also nephrology, like waste management. And according to estimates, nephrology, and especially the dialysis, contributes around 1 to 2% to the overall carbon footprint of the healthcare system, although only a fraction of patients, less than 1%, require dialysis. And in countries with a high prevalence of dialysis, like Japan, USA, Australia, the proportion may be even higher, of course. And for an example, the average carbon footprint of a US American is 14 to 17 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents a year. And 1 year of dialysis therapy, for instance, for this patient emits an additional 10 tons of carbon dioxide. So a person living in the US almost doubles its carbon footprint. And interestingly, the emissions in Europe are significantly lower. So here in Germany, for example, the carbon footprint of a resident is closer to 10 tons. And according to our own data we collected in Germany, which has not been published yet, the average dialysis therapy per year per patient is closer to 3 or 4 tons. So it's much less than in the USA or in Australia. And this is due to the more solid building structure in some cases, less use of air conditioning, and of course, the electricity mix. So in 2024, Germany generated around 60% of its electricity from the renewable energy, such as photovoltaic or wind energy. And to emphasize a little bit the injustice of this world, a person living in Burundi emits around 60 kilogram of carbon dioxide a year. And this person will probably never get the chance to receive a dialysis therapy if this person needs it. I'm sorry, I'm getting depressive. But I wanted to
we didn't want that.
emphasize that there's some injustice in this world.
There's definitely a lot of injustice in this world, but I'm so happy that you brought up the numbers because you get a better sense about, what's going on, and the dialysis patient having almost double the carbon emissions. That's really something. And also the difference between America and Germany being 10 to 3. That really shows you that if a country does go another direction, maybe America is not currently going in that direction, but if a country does go into another direction, like Germany, you can get things down, you can get things done. You can be on 3 tons instead of 10 tons, which is a huge thing. So thank you for all these numbers. And yeah, we are a big contributor, right? The fifth biggest country, if you take healthcare as a whole. That's a huge number. So
if I can add,
yeah, sure.
If I can add another number, it's a very interesting number from Portugal that a patient under dialysis presents a carbon footprint almost 30 times higher than the average patient that uses our national healthcare system. So it's huge. 30. 30. Yeah, 30. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So one goal is to have not many dialysis patients, right? That goes together with the CKD treatment goal, I guess.
You get the answer, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you now, I mean, what can we do as physicians, as like normal people who don't have the power to influence what countries do or major manufacturers or anything, or how supply chains go, but what can I as a nephrologist do? I'm always interested in that, because okay, I know there's a problem, but what can I do? What can we do to lower the carbon footprint of nephrology? What would be the best or most realistic strategies? You already said that something will be revealed in the Congress as well. So what can we focus on quickly or reasonably quickly?
Well, a great question, and probably the harder question to answer. But the truth is that there's a lot we can do, and the good news and the optimistic news is that many of the strategies are realistic and are already within our reach. So we can do a lot by ourselves. But I would say that there are four main ways we can reduce the carbon footprint in nephrology, like prevention, cutting the unnecessary procedures, busting from common myths about sustainability. It's another topic, very important topic, and making procurements and decisions with environmental in mind also. So let me break it a little bit. So prevention for me is the key. So as Susi pointed out, dialysis is one of the main drivers of nephrologist environmental impact. So if we can prevent or delay the need for dialysis, that's a huge win. So early detection and better long-term management is the key. And dialysis is incredibly, as we saw, a resource-intensive therapy. So reducing the number of patients who reach this stage, these end-stage renal diseases, through, I don't know, like public health programs, patients education, better access to care, and early access to care can make a real difference. And we know from studies that as kidney function declines, the carbon footprint increases. So mostly of this increase is due to more medications, more drugs, more clinic visits, more lab tests, more travels patients need to do. And another strategy that is making our healthcare linear. So which means cutting waste and focus on what really brings value. So what I want to say is that it's about avoiding unnecessary tests, over-treatment, and care that doesn't actually help the patient. And this is especially relevant in high-income countries, as Susi said, where a lot of emissions come from medical care that doesn't offer clear benefits. So we need to ask ourselves, what care is truly needed, and how can we deliver it in the most efficient or eco-friendly way? And another point that I would like to highlight is that we need to bust a few myths. For example, many people think that high volume hemodiafiltration uses more water than standard hemodialysis, but actually studies, at least 2 studies, show that with the right setting and using the modern machines, hemodiafiltration can be just efficient or even better in terms of water use, while also improving outcomes for patients. And another myth or another misconception is that environmentally responsible attitudes is always more expensive, and that's not necessarily true. And many changes, or probably most of the changes, may need an upfront investment, is true, but many lead to cost savings over time. And a good example is switching from a single-use acid concentrate containers, plastic containers, to a central delivery system. This change has been shown to lower both emissions and cost in a medium term. And so choosing, and always when you are choosing for low carb alternatives, whenever possible, is also crucial. One powerful way to do that is to include carbon footprint as a factor when you are choosing equipment or materials. If the hospital or a dialysis clinic start considering environmental impact in procurement decisions, that could really move the needle. And just to finish, having said that, not everything has to be big. So you can start small, right where you are. So if you care about this topic, please become a green person in your team, in your department, in your hospital. You don't need to wait for permission from the top. Often the people that is working day to day on the ground are the ones that see where waste happens and know what can be done differently. But of course, if you have top support, head of the department support, wherever, it also can be helpful. And the department head can still support this cause or this subject by nominating someone to lead the green initiatives, and it will be very helpful, of course. And this is a shared responsibility, so it's not a head responsibility, and everyone has a role to play: nurses, doctors, managers, suppliers, patients itself. So when we all get involved, even small actions can add to a real change at the end. And we can, if you want, I can go deeper and for a more detailed examples. For instance, well, we are talking to doctors, and as doctors, there are some important things we can do. You can, for instance, you can tailor our treatment of patients, and this means practicing personalized medicine, considering options like incremental or decremental dialysis, for instance, instead of an easier approach, while one size fits all. And
Yeah.
we can also think about the carbon footprint comes from, and surprisingly, medications are a major contributor, maybe even the biggest contributor of the carbon footprint of an hemodialysis patient. So one action we can take is to reduce polypharmacy, for instance, stopping medication that aren't really helping the patient, especially if they have a short life expectancy or very low disease progression. And please remember that this only helps the environmental, but also improves patient safety and quality of life. Let's not forget that medication side effects are a big cause of hospital admission itself. But of course, I can give you examples as you can help if you are leading a nephrology department or a dialysis clinic, or if you are the heads of a national nephrology society. So everyone has their responsibility and their place in this fight against the environmental issues. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I really love how you gave some really concrete examples, and also how you've shown that actually, if we do things that we would probably need to do already, like take care of the polypharmacy in some cases, then we'll benefit not just the patient, but also the sustainability of our treatment. So it's a win-win situation. I also had a personal thought before we started recording. We talked about this because Ivo and I both work with patients with kidney stones. I was just thinking lately that I don't actually need all of my patients who just come in for a control visit to actually come. I could, many of them I could just, take care of over a video call, because I don't really need to listen to the heart every time for a kidney stone patient. And that also, I think, is a win-win situation. The patient doesn't need to come, go through all the traffic, create the carbon footprint from the car, and so on. So it's just we can use thinking about these things to motivate us to do things that will actually help us, not make our lives more difficult.
Andre, you got the point. So you are now one of us.
Yeah,
You are
I'm
a
one of
member of
you.
our task force now.
Thank you. Susie, I think you wanted to add something, right?
Yes, of course, because this is a really very good narrative to say it's a win-win situation. We are talking about win-win situations, and not doing some harm. So as one example, this is my favorite example, that's why I want to mention it. I have one possibility to change the dialysis meal time during dialysis to a high protein, high fiber, but vegetarian diet. So that's what I did in my center. I have thrown away the usual sandwiches, the rolls with the sausages, with ham and cheese. And instead, I offered either cream quark with a fresh seasonal fruit and nuts, or a savory version with a mozzarella, tomatoes, cucumber, pumpkin seeds, and olive oil. And I also served half of a whole meal roll with each snack. So, and this has enabled us to reduce the carbon footprint of the dialysis meal from 8 tons to 4 tons per year. And so, and we also have a much healthier diet, thus fulfilling our role model function that we also have as physicians. And this is one way to have a win-win situation.
That's brilliant, Susie. I love that example, but just allow me to ask the key question, which is how did the patients take that?
Well, in the beginning, half of the patients were not very pleased. So they told me, do you want me to eat some birds
Bird
seeds?
food.
And
Okay, but in the beginning that makes sense. But how about now? I don't know,
oh,
half a
they
year
love
later.
it. They really love it because actually, to do it at home, to cut some fruits or some vegetables is very exhaustive. So for them, it is now really a win-win situation, and they love it right now. But
That's a
in the
great story.
beginning, you are right. It was
That's a great story. Thank you. So I wanted to ask you, your task force also advocates for environmental accountability in nephrology clinical trials, and you've written a paper on that. So I didn't think about that until I read the title of your paper and your paper. So are clinical trials an environmental problem, and how can we tackle that problem?
Hmm. Anna, one of our members, she's very deep in that topic. So, and according to the data she collected in 2021, there were 350,000 clinical trials registered on clinical trial. And this results in 27.5 million tons carbon dioxide equivalents. And this means so over 78 tons carbon dioxide per clinical trial. So this is really quite a lot. And this is, she gave us an example, this is equivalent to 1/3 of the total annual emissions of Bangladesh.
Oh.
So one clinical trial. And there are even
Oh,
trials.
one clinical trial is equivalent to,
Yeah. Yep.
oh my, okay.
Exists. All right. And there are even trials which account for up to 2,500 tons for one carbon dioxide of carbon dioxide. Yeah. Ivo, am I right with the yes? With the
Yes, I
this
think
is
so.
one trial is like 1/3 of Bangladesh. Yeah. So and this means also travel, transport of study drugs to trial sites, sample life cycles, and other study site activities. They were the main contributors. And opportunities for the carbon dioxide reductions could be decentralized clinical trial sites, minimizing unused stored samples and study drug or material, and a shift of sponsor employees and study participants to electric vehicles. So, and there was one nephrological clinical trial evaluating the carbon footprint. This was the nightlife study. It was a multi-center randomized controlled clinical trial assessing the impact of in-center nocturnal hemodialysis on quality of life. And interestingly, the carbon footprint decreased because the study had to be reorganized because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And a saving of 136 tons of carbon dioxide was obtained by installing remote conferencing, eliminating every travel, and promoting the teleworking. And so this is an example how it could work. And innovative data collection methods were implemented, such as virtual interviews, using common conferences, software programs, and photo voice.
Great. Yeah, that's a great example. There's a lot of traveling in clinical trials, absolutely. So I guess probably the pharmaceutical companies who often sponsor these trials should also have somebody devoted to sustainability, like Ivo mentioned, for our own clinics and our own departments. So thank you for pointing that out. Now, the penultimate question would be, what are the plans? Oh, you wanted to add something, please.
Yeah, that's a really important point, and as Susi highlights, and we believe that all clinical trials should include a carbon footprint assessment and a life cycle analysis, not just focusing on the medical outcomes, but also on the environmental ones. And we would like to see a CO2 emissions reported in the scientific papers and the ecologic impact considered as part of the study outcomes, like how much water, how much waste was saved or was produced during the clinical trial. And but I would say that we don't just want to know the carbon footprint of the clinical trial itself, but we also would like to see the environmental impact of the therapy or the procedure being tested itself. It will be perfect for us in this perspective. Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. That sounds really revolutionary now, but things that sounded revolutionary 20 years ago are now something completely normal. So I'm sure that in time we could get that done if everybody understands the logic and gravitas of it. So what are the plans of the task force for the near future? What are you guys working on right now, or what are you excited about right now?
Okay, we are very excited, let me say. But yes, our task force has quite few exciting plans and goals. We are really motivated to keep moving forward and make sustainability a central part of nephrology. And one of our priorities is to strengthen the collaboration with other societies. And I can give you an example. We recently started the discussion with the EDTNA, the European Dialysis and Transplant Nurses Association. And to be fair, nurses have actually been pioneers in bringing sustainability into clinical practice. So combining this experience with our medical expertise or perspective will be a powerful way to drive change. So we are also, as you said, working with the Young Nephrology platform. And because, as you said, it's not surprising that the younger generations tend to be more engaged and open to sustainability issues. So we believe they are going to be key players in transforming how we think and how we act when it comes to the environment and kidney care. Another project or exciting project we have is to create a course, an e-course, to help any team or department that wants to start their own green initiative. It will be a hands-on guide to turn good intentions into action. We also want to stay active in international discussions. And for example, we were represented by Susi at the recent KDIGO Controversies Conference on Green Dialysis. And it's crucial for us to be present on this global conversation, not just to share what we are doing, but also to learn and align efforts with these initiatives. And we are also involved in research. And some projects are already ongoing, and we don't want to talk a lot about that already, but other still in development, and that is because there's still a lot to learn and a lot to know, both about the environmental footprint of nephrology, but also about how climate change affects kidney diseases or kidney health. And of course, communication is a key pillar for us. We plan to boost our presence in areas, social media channels, and we want to continue to publish articles, not just to share data, but also to provide practical insights that can inspire others. For example, as I said before, we want to publish soon our experience helping to make the ERA Congress greener. so that national societies can apply some of these ideas and tools to their own meetings. And yes, we have big plans and a lot of energy and a lot of new ideas to make them happen. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's so inspiring to hear all of this. I'm really grateful to you guys that you're doing all this and that you're willing to talk about this in our podcast. And I think we've proven inconclusively today that you don't get depressed by thinking about sustainability.
No, we don't.
If anything, you have proven that it makes you more excited, more energetic, and I think that's great. So, for the last question, we want to ask you something that we ask everybody at this podcast, which is which book, two songs, and luxury item would you take to a desert island? The answers are quite nice. We've published a playlist of season one. You can find that out on YouTube on our channels, and also a book list from season one. And great, there are really great books in there. So, Ivo, Susi, which book, two songs, and luxury item would you take to a desert island?
Susie, would you like to start? Or
Okay. Firstly, I have to admit that, of course, I would take my family with me, yeah, to the island.
Of course, yes.
Of course, okay.
I have to say, one of our guests chose his wife as the luxury item.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
wow,
Okay.
it's so romantic.
I thought that was really romantic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
really.
understood that completely.
Okay. Well, I'm taking a book with me on how to survive on a desert island
Smart.
because I don't know how to survive. So, and the second book would be about bird species, so I could watch birds all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Nice, nice.
A luxury item. This would be my pillow.
Yeah. People have picked that up already at pillows.
Okay, okay. You have a lot of pillows now, yeah?
Yeah, we have pillow
Luggage.
lovers in nephrology. Absolutely. Makes sense, I guess.
Okay. Songs. Well, I would take the ballad by Aerosmith. I don't want to miss a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for the quiet moments. And then for the funny moments, Intergalactic of the Beastie Boys.
Oh, that's a great choice. That if you're depressed about life on a desert island, that would bring you up, right?
Exactly.
Or the Godzilla might come as in the video.
Exactly.
So, Ivo, how about you?
Well, I would take a book. It is Blindness by José Saramago. He's a Portuguese Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah. Yes.
So you know
yeah.
writer. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with any of his books. And do you know Blindness?
I know Blindness. I've read about half of it, but I haven't come to the end. So sorry about that. But he's a master writer. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Blindness is one of my favorite books, and it's about a strange epidemic of sudden blindness that spreads through a city. And what I love is how he explored how human nature, how people react in chaos, and I read it after the COVID pandemic, so I was really surprised by how many parallels there are, because this book was written in 90s. And as a classic Saramago book, it is ironic, it is sarcastic, and it is very sharp. So I really recommend this book. And regarding the luxury item, well, I will not be as romantic as the previous guest, but I will choose something I will found like useful or working in a desert island without internet or electricity. So I would go with the solar powered radio, so something very green.
Perfect.
To not only to listen listen to some music, but also to be in contact with the world. And about music, so let me know if you know this group. is Madre Deus, and the
Oh,
music
I
is
just wanted to
Pastor.
say that.
Yes, really, really. It's one of my favorite groups. So
Absolutely. That I know. I'm really a big fan of that album from the
really,
film Lisbon. Is that a Wim Wenders film? I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
album
yeah. It's
is
amazing. Yeah,
wonderful.
it's amazing. Well, it's a beautiful song. It's a very soft song. Madre Deus was like a group that blend traditional Portuguese music with something more modern. So, well, it's a very good option, and it's something that I always put when I'm down and I need something relaxing. Yeah, it's very good. And my second song would be "Fix You" by Coldplay, not just because, of course, it's a great track, it's a great group, but also because this band is really committed with environmental sustainability. So
Yeah, yeah.
they have made big efforts to make their world tour more eco-friendly. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I also think, since you mentioned Madre Deus, I think I have to mention Cesaria Evora as well.
Ah, so sorry, ever, of
Oh,
Yeah,
course. Sorry,
she
ever. Yeah, it's from
yeah,
Cape Verde, and
Cape
it's
Verde, yeah.
amazing. Yeah, Saudade,
Saudade, yeah, oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah.
That's mesmerizing.
Yeah, but we have a new Cesaria Evora, if we can say it. It's oh my God. Oh, I just forget the name. Oh God, I will send you the name.
Okay, we'll put it in the description of the
Yes, please. Sorry,
episode.
I just forget the name.
It's okay, it's okay.
It's my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you'll
it's
let us know and we'll give the
yeah. I
answer
will. Yeah,
feedback
I will.
because it's always nice to find new music, absolutely.
Lura.
Luda
Lura. Yeah, Lura.
how's that spelled?
Lura.
Ah, okay, okay,
It's
good,
amazing, amazing voice. Yeah,
amazing. I'll check that out
amazing voice.
immediately.
Yeah, you will love it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
Susie, I'm really grateful for this. Thank you. You've proven that sustainability is something exciting. I love that. You've given us some great examples, and I hope we can all learn from you. And we'll be keeping our eye on the task force because I see you've got some great plans ahead. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
yeah. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
invitation. It
Yeah,
was fun.
very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Bye bye.